Hi, this is Rachelle at Journal Life's Journey, and I had an idea of something I wanted to try. I want to get a little more use out of my dies, especially, I don't know what these are called. Are they steel rule dies? The Biggs dies. And my original idea was to make myself a template using the leaves because I want to use these in my art journal, but I don't want to add bulk. So I thought a stencil would be a great option. And I also think a stencil would make it good to be able to use in a background for mixed media, different things like that. So in the past, I have cut stencils with my Silhouette or Cameo using these poly folders that they have out during back to school. And usually once school starts, they go on sale for a really inexpensive price. I got these a couple of years ago when I was cutting stencils, and I kind of stopped doing it. So I'm just going to cut one piece of this off. We're going to make our own stencil here. That was a sloppy cut. So yeah, make our own stencil using this folder. And I'm going to cut off this bottom pocket. And I'm going to keep that because I can probably use this smaller piece as well for some smaller dies. I am going to try this also eventually with the thin dies, but for now I'm just going to work with the big dies. So I'm going to, this is my old paper trimmer. This is not my good paper trimmer, or not one of my good ones. So I'm going to trim this down. I believe these dies are 5x5, and let's see, I should know this. So I'm going to try and see if I can get 6x6 to go through my Sizzix Big Shot. I have cut some 6x6 stencils with my Cricut, but again, I want to get some use out of my dies as well. So let's do this. Okay, I'm going to leave the rounded edge there. And cut that. And then let's cut this. That's not going to give me enough, so I can only get one 6x6. I don't like to have that much waste, but I'll use this for something else. It doesn't have to be 6x6. I just kind of wanted it to be uniform and the same as the other stencils that I cut. So let's do this. Going to use the 1/2 inch rounding and round all the corners. Make it nice and neat. So we got our piece of poly ready to go. I kind of wanted to do these individually, but because of the way they are laid out on here, that it will be difficult to do. So I'm just going to do the simple way first and make my sandwich to go through my machine. So I don't think we need the platform. I have to look at the instructions every time because I don't use this often. I probably should use it more. So I'm going to turn it with this at the top so that I can kind of see what's going on. I'm going to put my other plate on top of that. I guess it doesn't really matter because the leaves are turned all cattywampus on there anyway. So let's run it through. Run it back through. And I'm going to go one more time just to be sure. I don't know why I do that. I know it cuts the first time, but okay. So maybe I do need to do that with the poly. But with doing this, you get the negative space and the positive space. So I can use these as stencil type pieces as well. And there you go. There's the stencil. So I can use this in my art journal. I can use this when I'm making junk journals, and hopefully these little pieces like here that's not connected well won't fall off, but I think they'll be fine. So that's one down. Then I wanted to do this one, and I guess this piece will be perfect for that. I think this will be fun to play with for Halloween. So I'm gonna do that one, and I need to figure out a way to store the positive pieces that I punch out in this case, because I do want to keep those. And let's put this there because I need to make room for my trimmer to trim this down. I want to trim off the jagged edges. So I'm gonna round these corners. I'm gonna do a 1/4 inch on this one since it's smaller. And let's make sure that's gonna fit. Take it out. Let's get it ready to go through the machine. Probably should put the plastic on the bottom or the poly on the bottom, but I like to be able to see a little bit, even though my plates are well used and you can't really see through them anymore. I still like to have that piece on top. Okay, let's see what we've got. So was that supposed to cut all the way across? I think it is. So it should be like that. And I'm just gonna snip this on the side where it didn't quite go all the way across because my piece is a little bit longer. So again, I can keep the positive piece and the negative piece. Look at these little bits out. That's how it turned out. Pretty cool. Okay, and then I also have this piece. I'm not sure that I would use this, but it could be used actually. So I'm gonna keep it and see what I might wind up doing with it just in case. So that one is done. Okay, so I also have this little die, which is one of a few that I have from Dollar Tree. I'm not sure if this one was one of the ones that I purchased or if it was one that was sent to me in Happy Mail over at SCRAPCRAFTASTIC. But let's see if we can cut through the poly with these dies. See how it goes. Okay, so it's stuck to the paper. Just pull the paper and not the die. Okay, and it's tape. Okay, so it's kind of sticky on the back from where the tape was. I should probably try and line this up in this on the edge, but I'm gonna just go ahead and keep it simple and put it right in the middle. And I didn't round my corners yet, but I'll get to it. So there's that. Then this. And let's run it through and see if it works. It kind of does. It doesn't work as well as the big dies, but it still works. And I hadn't even tried that on paper yet, so let's see if we can poke it out without breaking anything. This is a somewhat intricate die, but it seems to be coming out fairly easily. Okay. So there is, I don't like that it's got stickiness on it sticking to my plate. Let's stick it back on this paper. Put it back in here. So if you come across the dies at Dollar Tree, not only can you use it to cut paper, you can use it to cut poly or plastic and make your own stencils with them. You could probably also, if you don't have the poly folders or any poly type material that you can use, you could also use a sealed laminate sheet, meaning take a piece of laminate. I would probably use 5mm laminate, keep it empty, run it through your laminator, and then cut it in small pieces, small enough pieces to go through whatever die cutting machine you're using. And again, you'd have clear stencils. This is how it's used here. So let's see. So I don't know if I've shown this video yet or not, but I took a Dollar Tree planner that would be expiring soon, glued 3 to 4 of the pages together to make myself a little 5x7-ish art journal. I did go ahead and put some gesso on some of the pages. Well, 2 sets of pages. Let's start here since I already have tape on the middle on this one. And let's pop this in the corner and see how it goes. Now, one thing I can already tell, it's hard for me to line this up. So probably doing it with clear laminate would work well if you need to see where you're lining up your stencil at. So let's see how this comes out. I did this with the gesso to test how well I could blend ink on gesso, but since we're not blending right now, and I can always cover this up if I need to. So that's what it looks like, and that's kind of a rush job. Let's put it in this corner too. Could probably do better with a different applicator and not get it all over my fingers. Oops. With a different app. Let's put a little washi tape to hold that down. See if I can get a better impression. It's kind of at an awkward angle. Or a better stencil, because it was moving on me. It's something I've been wanting to try with this. This is a makeup sponge from Dollar Tree. And I want to try, I'm going to wet it a little bit and see if it applies the ink any better being wet. I just sprayed 1 spray of water on it. It doesn't seem to make a difference. Let's see. No, it doesn't seem to make much of a difference. Or maybe it does. I got ink on my nails. So let's pull this up and see. So that one is a little darker. I don't know if it's because I wet it or if it's because I went over it multiple times. Now I'm all in. So let's hit another corner real quick and see what happens. Oh, that's interesting. Cool. I like that. Okay, let's try one more time. Okay. Let's take it off. So that is what that looks like, and it's pretty cool. So we just turn the die into a stencil, and then like pieces like this I could place on whatever I'm working on and spray and get the negative effect, using the positive piece to get a negative look. I'll clean it later. You clean that off and use it again multiple times. It's plastic, so as long as the little pieces hold up, it will be fine. Works great. I have one other die that I want to try. Okay, so here is the other die that I wanted to try. Again, this is one that I haven't even used for paper yet. And it says it's 7 dies. Ooh. I thought it was gonna be like the big die and be all one die. But let's test it out. Set this aside for now. Like that it comes in a little packet. So these are the dies. And get rid of that. Okay. So this one I kind of messed up a little bit, but I'm going to try and use it anyway. So we'll do these 3. And hope for the best. Let's see. Did it cut? I think it did. Let's move this out of the way. It did. It's just going to take a little weeding to get this out. And the negative space is not going to be there. For instance, this has some tiny spaces that ordinarily would show up with the die. They're not going to show up on the stencil. Okay, so that's one. And that's what that one would look like. Of course, you could do the same thing with some cardstock. But after a while you would need to redo it, which would probably be no problem since you have the original dies. I guess I just wanted something a little more permanent to play with. So yeah, these might not have been the best idea because I lose some of the detail, but it's still kind of cool. Yeah, I lose quite a bit of detail there. Let's see if I can get this one out. Let's flip to another page and see what they look like. I'm gonna go right here. I shouldn't do black, but I'm just gonna do black since we already have it out. And I'm gonna spray the sponge one more time because I think it did help get some of that some of the ink out of the sponge. And I'm not even gonna put it back in the ink pad. We're just gonna go for it. Okay, so that's what they look like. Still pretty cool, even though it's not the exact detail from the die. It still looks kind of cool, right? Okay, so that is it. I need to clean these up and put these away, but that is it. I just want to show another way that you could use your dies and get a little more use out of them. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. Make sure you're subscribed, and I'll holler at you next time. Bye.